All right, guys, we're going to be continuing the discussion on and going through our series on the model. And we are down to the emotions. We've covered what the model is as a whole. We've covered what the circumstance is and the thought behind that circumstance. So now we're going to jump over into the feeling, our emotion. And no, it's not going to be all squishy-ishy and stuff like that. It's actually really good to understand what the emotions are, what emotions actually are, and how they apply into our life, and why we have the emotions that we have. So we're going to be talking about that this week on episode 119 of The Relaxed Male.
Hello and welcome to Relaxed Male, podcast that helps men change their relationship with themselves. I am your host, Brian, and I am a men's life and mindset coach who is here to help you understand that you don't have to suffer at your own expense. You can live your dream, and I encourage you to set, then pursue your goals. So join me as I change the mindset and attitudes of men so that they can be the leaders of their families and their destinies.
Hey man, hello and welcome to Relaxed Male. All right, so it is now officially Saturday after February 27th. This is I've had several days to recover from walking 22 kilometers, actually a little under 22 kilometers because I screwed up while I was walking. First lap I took, because we were over in well, let me start back from the beginning. The Ruck March that I'm talking about was a fundraiser brought on, and also an awareness raiser that was brought on by Operation Tears of 22. This is a charity, a organization, a group of veterans who are set on helping our military men and women who have gotten out of the military and are completely lost. And a lot of times these guys suffer from a lot of different thought loop errors. They suffer from a lot of feeling lost. They used to have a sense of purpose, and then all of a sudden they're out of the military, and that sense of purpose they had is gone. And so they feel lost and dejected, and often turn to drugs and alcohol and other harmful ways of coping with this loss of purpose. Now, a lot of times though, these men and women will turn to the ultimate solution, the final solution, and that is suicide. We lose 22 men and women who are former military members to suicide every day we lose 22 of them. And that's 22 too many. And so these guys are getting together. Their ultimate objective is to just get these guys out into nature, get what's called the 3-day effect going on, where their mind settles down. It slows down. It allows them to get recentered and get more grounded in what they're doing in their life. And at the same time, they are able to talk and communicate and commune with a bunch of other veterans and the veterans' families. And each veteran there is essentially going to be there to help the others. So if there's one particular veteran that shows up and is having a hard time, guess what? There is a community of veterans who will surround this guy and help him, get him settled on finding a sense of purpose again. Since this is a nonprofit organization, the Operation Tears of the 22, they need to do some fundraising. And so one of the ways they decided to do a fundraising and also raise awareness of the men and women that we lose is they did a Ruck March, which is where you carry a weight, a set amount of weight for however long you want to walk. And the weight was 22 pounds. I carried a little over, like 23, 24 pounds in my backpack. One guy actually carried 30 pounds. Some of them were, they were still within that range. And then we walked 22 kilometers, which is 13.6 miles. That's a long walk. 13 miles of 22 pounds on your back. Wow. Holy smokes. Jiminy. That was something else. What we did is we held this over at Chaffee Crossing over in Fort Smith, Arkansas. Chaffee Crossing, if you're not aware of, it's sort of famous because that's when Elvis was drafted to the military. Elvis went to Chaffee Crossing. There, the barber shop where he got his hair cut is still kept at that same level. They even have a kind of a marked out which chair he actually sat in and all that. And it's a really neat, it's pretty, it looks like, Second World War style barracks. I mean, they kept as much of it as pristine as they can. But they're also trying to update it, trying to bring more people over to the Chaffee Crossing historical area because there is still an army base of Chaffee Crossing. It's just right next door to the old Chaffee Crossing. And so we had a loop where we walked down around where some of the old barracks and parade grounds and stuff used to be, and then up and around where some of the businesses currently are residing, which are still more barracks and warehouses and things like that they would use back in the army back in whenever from the time World War II era. And the full loop is a little over, I think, 4 miles, or a little under 4 miles. It's around 4 miles, anyhow. And so the first lap, okay, that was actually pretty good. That second lap, wow, you started really feeling it in your calves, and you didn't have quite as much of a spring in your step. That last lap was such a slog. It was just, come on. Got to make it. I mean, I didn't have to stop and take a break until that third lap, but wow, that was brutal. And once that first lap came along, or first break, it was, I would walk maybe a half mile, have to take a break again. Walk another half mile, take a break. Walk a half mile, take a break. Walk half mile, take a break. I mean, I'm going to dive deeper into this because as I was walking, I didn't bring a headset or anything. So it was just me and my thoughts, which can be kind of scary if you're not used to being me. But with my thoughts, I came up with a really good analogy to equate what I experienced on that Ruck March to life in general. And we're going to be talking, that'll actually be airing in March 31st, I believe. And it's the, your rucking life, I think is what I'm calling it at the moment. So, but anyhow, it is, the whole thing was just, made you aware of what your legs, actually have to go through. When I got done, I walked hunched over, shuffled my feet. I couldn't raise my arms. If I tried to even bring my arms up and about, my shoulders screamed at me. Those shoulder muscles were just not happy with me. My legs, my calves especially, were just toast. And so I was the last one to get finished. There were 7 of us who actually went on this Ruck March. There was 3 who have done rucking before, and it was very evident because, boy, they got that thing done in about 3 hours. They would walk it in 3 miles an hour, if that. And had no, they got done, and it was, the 2 founders, one of them made a lap. The second one made 2 laps, and I was determined I was going to do all 22. Well, after getting my first lap, I found out I made a wrong turn and, supposed to have gone down like another block I think it's another block, made a right and gone around. And where you walk down and you walk past the barber shop and walk up. And I had turned beforehand down the loading warehouses. So by the time I finished, I was a half mile short of actually working 22 miles. And at first I was so tired, I couldn't even do math right. I sat there and saw 13.11 miles and it's 13.6. I was like, all right, yeah, I cleared it. Yeah. All right. No, you dummy. That would be, what's bigger? 11 or 60 because, you're going to spread it out. So you have to add a 0 under the other side. So yeah, about 4:00 in the morning after I had a calf cramp up on me. I was laying there trying to get that worked out, and I don't know why. Brain kicked in and was like, yeah, you didn't walk as far as you were supposed to. And so, dadgummit. So I ended up not walking the full 22 kilometers, but I got a half mile within the 22 kilometers. And by gosh, the next, like I said, I walked like an 80-year-old man that day. I couldn't even help them tear down. I was the last one. It took me 5 hours to walk it, and got over there, and I saw everybody tearing stuff down, and I was like, oh, son of a gun. I tried to get over there, and I couldn't pick things up with my because anytime I tried to raise my arms, my shoulders were screaming at me. My legs were barely holding me up. It started out being around the mid 50s that morning, but by the time I finished, it was 32 degrees. The cold front was blowing through. We were fixing to have the ice storm blow through, and I was just freezing cold. I wore a jacket, had a sweatshirt, jacket, didn't have my peasant cap on, which I looked for and couldn't find it. Found it, actually yesterday, but anyhow, so got that done. And wow, just the fact that I couldn't move like I normally did was an interesting aspect. I mean, the pain that I felt wasn't, it wasn't excruciating. Did make it, I barked a couple times. I moved wrong, or I stepped off a curb wrong to get into the car. And boy, my calves were like going, dude, we don't bend that way no more. And so I was like, and got myself into the car, got it started. Every time I had to try to turn or something, my arms were having to pick up, and I was, moving shoulders, and they were not happy with me. And, yeah, it was a bit painful. I felt a lot of aches, a lot of weary. I went to bed early that night and slept, got up at 7:30 the following morning and to head home because I had to get here before everything iced over, and I was not able to move. So, but the next day, all right, I felt like a 70-year-old. I wasn't hunched over, but boy, I was not going to walk fast. And, I still was hobbling. I wasn't walking. I was shuffling around and looked like walking like a 70-year-old. The following day, even a little better. I was about a 60-year-old. And then, about Friday, the pain in the calves has subsided. I mean, I've still got, I could stretch my calves a little bit in one way or another, and I can still get a little soreness, notice out of that. But the weird thing is I actually had, it was about, Tuesday, Wednesday. So it'd been about Wednesday. About Thursday, because there was a full day of where it didn't have a problem. On my left leg, the muscles just right above my kneecap were not going to allow me to put any pressure on them. They were just like giving me nothing but a huge middle finger. And I mean, I couldn't stand up on that leg. I mean, I could stand on the leg, but to stand up, like if I was sitting down, I usually use both legs to stand up. And no, I had to use my right leg, put all the weight on the right leg because the left leg was not going to have it. And that lasted, until yesterday. And yesterday it had eased up enough, and I did something. I bent down, and all of a sudden I felt a muscle or something roll funny. And suddenly it hurt like a son of a gun, but shortly thereafter, everything really kind of cleared up, and the knee started to feel better, or the lower thigh started to feel better. And so I was finally I'm able today walk up and down stairs without, stepping up gingerly if I have to use the left leg now, or just put all the weight on, do one step at a time. I am now able to actually, walk, normally, can bend over, bend down, put wood in the fireplace, things like that. I'm back to normal, but wow, it takes a while if you really beat your body up like that to get things moving. And so there's lessons that I learned from that. First off, 22 kilometers is a long freaking way. Next year when they go to do it, I think they're actually going to move it towards March or April, sometime where we don't have so many, sometime where we can actually start doing it on the weekend. Cause this was on a Tuesday and we didn't have as much of a turnout as we would really have liked. But, we had some people turn out and that was beautiful and awesome. And we are incredibly appreciative of the folks who did come out. There's quite a few people who cheered us on. There were, Avast, Bank. They had a water stand and no, granted by the last lap, nobody was manning the stand. The water was still there. So I was staying hydrated, but still at the same time, woo. The wind was blowing and it was cold and yeah, you felt it. And so it was an interesting experience. I'm definitely going to be, training for that walk next year for sure. So, all right. So that's my report on the Ruck March. Had a great time. Loved being able to see Rich. Loved being able to see Matt and Deanna. Even got to see a little Breezy. Breezy was amazing to see that she was a smile. She walked with us. She was one of the ones who did the, march with us. But it got a little too cold for her there about the first lap. And so she called it quits. But heck, that's, around 4 miles as she walked. So, I mean, that's powerful right there. The fact that she decided she was going to take the initiative and she wanted to walk with us. Anyhow, so now with that, I learned lessons. We got lessons. I'm going to be applying those lessons to life. And you're going to hear more about the lessons that I learned. Like I said, in the following episode, that'll end up being on, I believe I said March 31st, This Rucking Life. Yep. And, that's going to be episode 122, just to let you know. So, all right. Now, let's go ahead and let's jump on over to the main topic. The main topic this week is we're still in the model series and we're talking about the model. The model being that this is a tool that you can use to actually view your thoughts and see if your thinking is actually serving you right or not. Because when you write out your model, you have 5 lines. You have your circumstance, thought, feeling, action, and results. You can, your circumstance is, like we said before, is completely neutral. It does not mean it's positive or negative. But what makes it positive or negative is the thought that we have about that circumstance. I am overweight. I need to lose 50 pounds. All right. So your circumstance would be you're 50 pounds overweight. The thought you are having is probably something like, I can't stand how I look in the mirror. I can't stand how big my gut is. I can't stand how big my ass is. There's a lot of those things that you have, those thoughts that you have about the circumstance being you're 50 pounds overweight. So that thought generates an emotion. That emotion is maybe disgust, maybe, revulsion, maybe, anger, maybe sadness, maybe forlorn, whatever that emotion is that you're having, creates that emotion. And that's what we're talking about this week is we're talking feelings. Now, a lot of times, especially these days, for whatever reason, society has come across and has decided for whatever reason that men aren't supposed to share their emotions. No, men have shared their emotions for years. We always have emotions. We know we have emotions. Stoics catch the biggest whack of it because they think that we don't feel we bury our emotions. No. Stoics understand that there are emotions, but when do you choose to process those emotions is very important. You're not going to just be succumb to emotions in the middle of a battle. You're not going to sit there as you're you're not going to cry and or laugh or do any of those, have a weird emotional experience in the heat of whatever battle you're having at the moment. You may wait until after the emergency or whatever that event going on is. Once it's done, then you process those emotions. You talk about them, you write them out and things like that. A lot of people, especially a lot of grown boys do not share their emotions because they have been taught by other grown boys that men don't share their emotions. Yet to be a grown man, you have to acknowledge the fact that you have emotions. You share those emotions. You talk about those emotions. You process those emotions with the help of the other men who are in your band of brothers. Who is it that's in your band of brothers that's helping you do your processing? They're living life intentionally with you. So let's break down and start looking at what emotions actually are. At the very base, an emotion is nothing more than a vibration that starts in your mind and you feel throughout your body. If you actually find yourself in an emotional state, say you are angry about something, and you have enough mental presence available. Sometimes, guys, when we get angry, we fly into a rage and we just let our amygdala fight or flight and the kick in with the norepinephrine, and just we get into a rage and we start wailing on anything and everything around. We're just in this blind rage. But if you happen to find yourself angry, upset, whatever emotion, you notice that you're feeling a particular emotion, stop what you're doing and focus in on what that emotion is doing to you. How is that emotion actually feeling to you? That's the cool thing to actually sit there and look and really get to understanding what emotions are. And when I say that they're just vibrations, that's all they are. You can sit there and experience your emotions and notice. You can even start to describe them. You will start looking at them and see that, well, I feel, anger, really deep in the chest. It's deep in the chest. It's really hot. You may even give it if you look at a color wheel, you may go, well, it's kind of a reddish orange, and it's spiky and it's mean, and it's just this horrible looking emotion. And you can describe what it was look like if you were to take it out of your body and be able to see it in its physical. And you can describe what it looks like, feels like, textures and things like that. And emotions help us in many ways though. But a lot of times though, when we have those emotions kick up, we want to try to associate, positive or negative emotions, and emotions aren't positive or negative. They're just emotions. They just are. All right. So we've got several different things that happen to us that are also associated with our emotions. And there's a lot of stuff that happens in our brain because our brain has one purpose and one purpose only, and that is to keep us alive. To not wind up dead. Okay. And our emotions and three parts of our brain, well, all of our brain really, but the three that I like to focus in on are, do these things to make sure that we stay safe and that we're not doing something to where we're going to get eaten by a polar bear or get eaten by a saber-toothed tiger or a cave bear. These are a lot of our emotions are ignited by our amygdala. This is when I call the primitive part of the brain, that's what we're talking about. That is that little monkey brain that's hanging out in the lower part of our spinal, or not our spinal cord, but our mind. But also with our brain, there are neurotransmitters and hormones that get released that also allow us to be able to feel different things. Now, there's some neurotransmitters and hormones our body produces is dopamine, gamma-aminobutyric acid, or GABA, serotonin, oxytocin, and endorphins. But they also produce some rather unpleasant hormones and neurotransmitters also, and that's norepinephrine, cortisol, and adrenaline. Now, you may hear people hear adrenaline, and you think adrenaline junkies. Yeah. And these are people who have taken the effects of adrenaline and have turned it into a great thing. They've changed how they think of that particular vibration that they feel throughout their body. Now, dopamine, if you're not familiar with it, is kind of when it hits our mind and hits our brain, it really sends off signals of pleasurability, happiness, things like that. It's just your feel good neurotransmitter that we have. Gamma-aminobutyric acid, or GABA, has the means of being able to calm us down. Then there's serotonin. That's the emotion. That's the what causes us to feel joy, contentment. And then there's oxytocin, which is love and a sense of connection. And then endorphins just help us relax. And also, if we ever happen to have some pain, that it also is released to, like if you cut your finger, endorphins are released to kind of deaden the sensation of the cut. Norepinephrine is your fight or flight responses. Cortisol is released during stress. This is also what your body uses to store fat. It's like, oh crap, we better start storing fat, hold that fat, because we don't know why is it so stressful around here? Is it stressful to me? Is it stressful to you? Okay. Well, we're going to save as much energy as we can, so we don't have to, in case we don't have any food for a month, we can live. It will be okay. And then there's adrenaline. This is also in a lot of the fight or flight. This is, when somebody scares you or something, and all of a sudden your heart's racing and you're sweating and you've got the shakes because you've got, nerve juice running through your system. All these work in conjunction to help you feel what you're feeling. And we really do enjoy, especially those feel good, hormones and neurotransmitters. These are where people who are addicted to particular substances like heroin and cocaine, or even pot or alcohol, or even cigarettes. It's the reason why they're so hard to kick off is because we like the sense of dopamine, pleasure, happy. We made a goal. That's why social media is so addictive, is because they figured out how to really play with your dopamine receptors. You post something up, you see that you had 37 likes. Dude, you feel amazing. While the next one, you only get 5 likes. Okay, you don't have as much of a reward. When you eat something that has a lot of calories and is full of flavor and has high calories, that really sets off the dopamine, pleasures and happiness that we associate with food. Serotonin is the joy and contentment. So when you're hanging around people and you're really connecting with them, you get a lot of serotonin and a lot of oxytocin released. Oxytocin is that love molecule that the newspapers and stuff like to talk about. This is what's released when you really feel that the most, and you really get addicted to the oxytocin. You really enjoy the oxytocin when you get that first kiss from the person you love. That first one, where, it hits like a sledgehammer. I remember the first time I kissed a girl. Wham! It just, it's just one of those emotions where you're just like, wow, it's amazing. And that's why a lot of people actually become sex addicts, because they want that oxytocin, the feel of oxytocin, that feel of connection. Because when we don't have that feeling of connection, then our body starts going, well, something's wrong. That's why we avoid feeling bored, because we're not getting that dopamine hit every time. Every 5 seconds, all of a sudden you're not getting any dopamine. Your brain's going, dude, hello. We're not getting the happy juice. We need the happy juice. We need to feel good. Hello. And it starts, all of a sudden the amygdala starts to wake up and goes, dude, we don't have any dopamine. Where's the serotonin? We need oxytocin. We need something. Oh, and because our amygdala kicks in, all of a sudden our cortisol start kicking up, because we're in a fight or flight mode. We're like, okay, something's happening. Something's not good. And when you are not getting that dopamine rush, that's where, a lot of our problems start to come from, because sometimes we have emotions that don't give us dopamine. We have emotions that don't give us serotonin or GABA or release endorphins. We don't have some of our emotions don't release those, and they instead release the hormones and neuroreceptors that are not as good feeling to us. Now, some people, like I said, like the feeling of adrenaline. Those are the adrenaline junkies. They're the ones who go and jump out of airplanes and jump off of buildings and do, death-defying acts, and because it gets their heart racing and they feel really alive when they do that, and it feels great. And it's just how they view that. We like to have plenty of dopamine and serotonin and oxytocin. And sadly, a lot of us have really flooded ourselves out with the dopamine, the serotonin, the oxytocin, all the feel-good stuff. And so our receptors we don't have as many receptors as we need. So that's why we start really flooding ourselves with, that's where, like cocaine users, they have to get a bigger bump and a bigger bump and a bigger bump and a bigger bump every time, because their pleasure dopamine receptors and serotonin receptors and oxytocin receptors are all pretty much filled up, and the body's still going, dude, we gotta have some more of that. That is some good stuff, I tell you. And so you gotta have some more of that good stuff. It's like, Marty, we gotta do it. And because we are driven by what our brain is telling us, we start to really run into problems when we want that dopamine hit, when we want to be able to achieve something that feels good. And that's one reason why so many of us like just Netflix and sit on the couch. We're safe there. We've got enough. We're hitting our benchmark of dopamine. We're okay. Nothing's good. We're comfortable. Our serotonin levels are all right. Our oxytocin levels, our GABAs, nice and high. We have all these good levels out there, and we don't ever utilize and see that the cortisol, the norepinephrine, and the adrenaline is actually also just as good for us. We want to be safe. We want to be comfortable. We want to sit in our caves and just eat. But eventually you have to leave the cave to go get food. And when we do that, all of a sudden we get more, we start getting a little more stress. And that's one reason why I think so many people are going gaga over the anxiety, is because they've overloaded themselves with all the feel good hormones. And now they're trying to figure out, how do I get more? I'm sitting here looking at Facebook, going on Twitter, going on Instagram, going on all the other places, and I'm not getting any benefits off of it now. I'm not feeling as good as I'm supposed to. Maybe there's something wrong. And, your brain starts going, oh, you want something wrong? Well, okay, we can sit there, and our mind looks for things that we're wanting. All right. So if we're looking for a reason why we're not feeling good, our brain's going to go, oh, you don't want to feel good? All right, dude, we're going to find something to make you feel good. Oh, okay. You have a heart attack. Oh, why's your shoulder aching? Oh, your shoulder's aching. Oh no, it's that left shoulder. Oh, oh no. Oh, it's probably nothing. You may have just tweaked it, but it could be a heart attack. Oh, and so all of a sudden we start our mind starts running wild. Our amygdala, that primitive part, that monkey brain starts taking over, and our brain's like going, oh yeah, okay, yeah, we got pain. Let's shoot out pain to that area. And we can start to create and simulate having a hard time breathing, and our shoulders aching, and we're having a heart attack. We got heart palpitations and all this other stuff. And we go to the doctor, and the doctor's like, oh yeah, you had a panic attack, because we weren't paying attention to what our emotions were. I mean, heck, I sat there several times with my, when the top part of my knee, those muscles right across there, I definitely had thoughts going through my head of, I wonder if that's a blood clot that's stuck in there. Maybe, is that what a blood clot feels like? And, I would think about it. I try not to think about it, but it still rode. If I tweaked funny or walked funny and that it really wanted to bark up and become known, it was real evident. I mean, trying to sleep at night, I couldn't keep my leg straight. I couldn't keep my leg bent. I couldn't keep it straight. Couldn't keep it bent. I had to constantly be moving that left leg through the night. And so I had a bit of restless leg. But why? Because of a thought that I had. It's like, okay, maybe it is blood clot. And then eventually I noticed, oh, no, it moved laterally. So it's not a blood clot, because blood clots will travel up or down your leg, depending on which area, which is it, an artery or a blood vessel. It's, so it's not that. And once I got past that and I was able to prove to my mind that it wasn't like a blood clot, that thought really faded away. And it was just, okay, maybe it's just something, a ligament's gotten stressed, or, some tendonitis or some problem along those lines, where it's just an inflamed tendon or something. And like I said, then I had moved one time, and whatever that tendon was, it moved in a particular way that it needed to move, and it got things cleared up today. I mean, no pain in my knee at all. And it's because of the thoughts that we have. So we can get ourselves into, panic attacks because we're just letting our minds just run free. Our thoughts are like a 3-year-old with a butcher knife. They're kind of cute, but really dangerous at the same time. As I said, there are 3 parts of our brain that we really want to focus in on. I've talked about the amygdala several times already. That's that primitive monkey brain that's in your head. That's the one who likes to ring the bell going, danger, danger, Robinson, danger, danger. And, cause us to go into panic attacks, cause us to just get ready to fight or flight, because that's what its purpose is to do, is to look for the hidden tiger that's in whatever new exciting thing that you're doing. You want to start a business? Oh, well, you don't know how to do that. So you're going to lose all your money. You're going to be homeless. You're going to be living on the streets under a bridge, and no one's going to want to talk to you, and they're going to laugh at you, and they're all going to laugh at you, that type of stuff. And it's just, it's ridiculous, because if you stop the amygdala from screaming like that, and you engage your prefrontal cortex, which is that thinking part, touch your forehead. Yeah. Okay. Right behind your forehead is the prefrontal cortex. All right. So that part of your mind, the front part of your brain, is the part that does all the logical thinking. If you can engage that, and a lot of people realize they can engage it by just taking a couple of deep breaths, especially if you find you're getting yourself worked up, or you're into something that you're really kind of skeeved out about. Slow, deep breath through the nose, out through the mouth, and allow just your prefrontal cortex to engage, and tell the amygdala, go take a freaking hike, go sit in the corner. You'll slow down, and you'll start looking at stuff a lot more critically. Now, the third part of your brain is called the hippocampus. This is the habit center. So whenever you're doing something, say you are used to driving to work a particular direction, what'll happen a lot of times is our brains will sit there and go, all right, well, we're driving to work. Hippocampus, take it. And the hippocampus will take over, and you will drive all the way to work, and you'll pull in, and you'll realize, holy crap, I don't remember any of the trip to the work. That was your hippocampus at work. It went into habit mode. It was, the hippocampus is kind of the laid back hippie dude. He's just kind of, no worries, man. I'll just hang out over here. And they take over, and the hippocampus uses very little energy. Its purpose is to not burn energy at all. So our brains, as a means to trying to keep us alive, remember, that's the main part. Its primary objective is to not get us killed. So it wants to try to shove as much stuff over into the habit center as it can, because our brain, well, it uses a lot of energy. It's probably uses the most energy out of the rest of our body on a day-to-day basis. I mean, there's 6 arteries that run to our head. So there's a lot of food, and a lot of food that's going up there. And we have arteries that run straight from our lungs to our head. It goes from the heart to the lungs to the head. It is meant to, it's meant to burn a lot of energy. A lot of calories go into making sure that organic computer behind your eyes runs like it's supposed to. But because it knows that it uses a lot of energy, it wants to make sure that it uses the prefrontal cortex only as much as it can. It wants to go into low power mode as often as it possibly can. Yeah, you're going to have a lot of habits. And so if you're doing stuff that you don't like doing, So if you're wanting to start stepping out of your comfort zone, get out of that comfort zone, start growing someplace, then you're going to have to start rewriting the hippocampus, where instead of it going, oh, well, that's hard, something hard, unknown. Okay. And it goes through the catalog. Oh man. Yeah. You're supposed to be afraid of that, man. So let's get a hold of the amygdala and let him take over. And so he'll send a message down to the amygdala. Hey, you're scared. Go on ahead and, release some, cortisol, a little bit, get the adrenaline. Let's get the heart rate up, norepinephrine, go. Oh, well, I don't want to do that. I better sit down and watch television because all of a sudden I'm not feeling so good. So this is why it is so easy for us to play small. This is why we seek to sit on the couch. We look and strive and self-sabotage when we're fixing to do hard things so that we can go sit on the couch. We don't want to build that better connection with our wives because you know what? We might get rejected. If we get rejected, then we're not going to get the oxytocin and serotonin that we want. We're not going to feel that connection that we want. So it's better to just go ahead and just think that we're being okay. And let's just go watch porn. Let's just go watch, play video games. Let's go watch the sports games together, spending quality time with our wife. It's better if we just, let the kid hang out upstairs instead of going to do, some camping because you know what? He's probably not even going to like it because, that means I have to get everything out and that's just hard work. And I really don't know where I'm going to camp this week. And I really just don't feel like, our brain will come up with reasons as to why we don't. We work so hard to fight what we perceive to be positive and negative emotions. And like I said, emotions are not positive nor are they negative. They're just emotions. It's a lot like our circumstances. They're just there. Okay. We experience them. And if you can allow yourself to just experience them and not make them try to mean that the world's falling apart, you can power through that emotion, those perceived negative emotions, a heck of a lot easier and continue on doing whatever it is you need to do. Yeah. Are you going to feel a little bit of shame because you brought in $100,000 for the first time in the year? Yeah. If you let it set, you're going to self-sabotage. You're going to lose that $100,000. You're not going to make it again. But if you can power through that twinge of shame because, oh man, what are people going to think of me? Well, they're going to think whatever they want to think and carry on. You'll be able to start making more $100,000 a month in a lot easier time than if you sit there and obsess over the shame of you actually being able to make money. Now we live our life is run by the 50-50 principle. The 50-50 principle is that it is going to be 50% pain. Half of your life is going to be nothing but pain and discomfort. The other half is going to be pleasure and joy. We want to try to stay in that 50% pleasure and joy, don't we? Well, the problem is when you try to go over to and stay in the pleasure and joy, you're also denying the pain and the pleasure. Or the pain and the suffering that's going to be happening on the other half of your life. That pain and discomfort is going to actually grow unless you pay attention to it. And if you can allow the pain and the pleasure to happen whenever it happens, because it's going to happen within minutes of each other. You're going to, yay! Our team got a touchdown. Oh, there was a foul, a flag on the field. Okay. Well, now there went that extra point. There's the pain. There's the pleasure. It's a sports game shows a lot of the highs and the lows of life. But a lot of times, a lot of people spend their life avoiding what they perceive to be negative emotions. They don't feel good. It's scary. It's horrible. It's shameful. It's envious, whatever, all these different emotions that many people will see and call a negative emotion. And so to avoid that, their brain will go into automatic mode and will find ways to buffer. Oh, well, you're not feeling good. Well, here, watch some, you're missing some connection. You want a little oxytocin bump and stuff. You want to feel good about yourself. Well, okay. Well, here's some porn. Watch some porn. But porn. Porn's good. Porn will get you right as rain, except for the fact that it's easy to go look at a bunch of naked people having sex than to actually put yourself and your emotions out on the line to your wife, and to see if she goes, yeah, I'll get naked with you. It'd be fun. Or she may go, you know what? I really just don't feel like it. You know what the kids did today? I don't care to do it. Or she's like, well, why would I want to do that? You hadn't taken the trash out yet. So no, you have to be okay with the fact that you're going to hear stuff. You know, your wife has the ability to make her own decisions, and she doesn't want to have sex. Okay. You're going to have to be okay with that. Maybe you're wanting to you need to make a sales page for a workshop that you're doing. Well, you can either take the time to build the sales page, or you can go play video games, scroll on social media, watch a bunch of YouTube videos. You're mad about being overweight, but what are you doing? You feel bad about yourself, so you're eating a bunch of Twinkies and Ho-Hos and Ding Dongs. Which a lot of those I just realized Hostess has a lot of very sexual innuendos naming in their snacks. But, anyhow, you may go off and make a trip over to the Chinese food restaurant. Or that's the problem that a lot of alcoholics have. They have the urge to drink alcohol because they start having thoughts about stuff that happened in the past. They haven't processed those thoughts. They haven't processed the negative emotions. And so they don't have to feel those negative emotions, feel that unpleasant feeling that feeling that they're perceiving to be unpleasant. They turn to alcohol. They turn to drugs. But the thing most people don't realize, because, you know, you'll see people or hear people say, well, I felt like I was drowning in sorrow. Well, no, you're not drowning in sorrow. Your sorrow is an emotion, yes, but it doesn't last. I think they say that on the average, that emotion lasts 90 seconds. Well, why was I sad about my grandmother passing for a week and a half? Because you kept having thoughts that made you sad about your grandma. You could have easily had thoughts that made you accepting that your grandmother passed. She was in pain. She was, 98 years old. She was in a wheelchair. She had bed sores. She started to show signs of dementia. She was, she didn't have she was trying to live by herself, and she was still trying to be independent, and she lost all of it. And, you could look at all the reasons why her passing actually is kind of an okay thing. Or you can look at it as, it's my life is incomplete now because I don't have my grandmother in my life. Those are your choices. We have thoughts that something being bad, or we have thoughts about, that we experience where the emotions are associated with that thought. And so, yeah, we can have a negative feeling emotion, or we can have a positive feeling emotion. But those emotions are generated by our thoughts. We are thinking, hey, this is a bad thought. This is a sad emotion. This is a positive emotion. Our emotion can be the circumstance. I am sad. And that is the circumstance. People who suffer from depression. I have depression. There are those emotions, and what your thought is about that emotion, you can make out a model. When you're feeling, when you have a thought about this emotion, which makes that, feels more of that particular emotion, which causes you to have an action that, exemplifies that emotion, and it causes you to feel that emotion. So if we can live our life using the 50-50 principle, knowing that, you know what, I'm going to feel like crap half the time of my life, and the other time I am just going to be the man on top of the world. And then there's going to be a lot of variations in between that all the time. You can actually be okay with being scared. You can be okay with feeling nervous. You can be okay with feeling despair and upset, because it's just an emotion. Yes, it is just an emotion. Yes, it is just anxiety. It's not going to kill you. Your thoughts about that are what makes it so bad. So if you want to try to do something if you want to try to do something that is scary, then go for it. Your thoughts on what that scary thing is and what it means to you is all upon you. You want to try to start up your own business? Awesome, man. Go for it. It is one of the biggest adventures you'll ever have in your life. You want to hike the Appalachian Trail? Beautiful, man. It's going to be the biggest adventure you ever had in your life. Just make sure you get your legs in shape, though. I'll tell you that. I will still want to walk the Camino de Santiago. That's like 2,000 kilometers. So that's a lot more than 22 kilometers. So, and I don't know how much I'm going to be carrying in my backpack, but I know I'm going to be carrying something in the backpack. So I'm going to have to get myself used to carrying that backpack. I'm going to have to build my shoulders up. I'm going to have to get my knees in shape. I'm going to have to get my legs in shape. So there's going to be a lot of walking that I'm going to have to do. But you don't have to run from an emotion. You don't have to be afraid of that emotion. You don't have to allow that emotion to have any power over you. Yet so many people do. I am so scared of how my mother's going to respond if I tell her I am getting a divorce. Well, why are you allowing the emotion of fear to have power over your life? Why not go ahead and accept the fact that your mom may not be happy, but however she acts is all upon her. It has no reflection upon you. Your thoughts and your emotions are yours. So let your mom have hers. You want a divorce? Then, and you haven't told your wife yet. Why? Well, I don't want her to be upset. Well, sorry, dude. It's not in your power. You wanted to have a divorce? Then you're going to have to tell her eventually that she's getting a divorce. And you're going to have to just stand and let them have their emotions. Stop trying to control everything, because your means of trying to control other people's emotions is because you have a problem with your own emotions. Work on your emotions. Work on what you're feeling. Why are you feeling that emotion the way you're feeling it? Is it really that bad of an emotion? If you can say, yeah, it is, then find a way of changing it. If you find out, no, okay, well then why are you obsessing over it? You can let your emotions have power over you, or you can choose to take that power back, and you can have and live your life on whatever terms you want to live your life on. And that's all because emotions actually have no power over you until you give them the power. So, man, I want to let you know, get out there, enjoy life, realize, pay attention to when you feel an emotion, when you feel an urge to do something. What is that? And what's keeping you from doing it or from not doing it? Look at those, examine them, write them down. If you want help with it, man, go over to relaxedmale.com/coach. Sign up. I'm going to talk to you 2, 3, 4 times before I ever set up see if you want any type of coaching program. Before I set you up on a coaching program, I just want to get to know you. See if you're actually, I want to feel you out, see where you're at. Are you knee deep in victimhood where, I can try to tell you stuff and you're just not going, you're just swallowed up in emotions and you don't want to hear that your thoughts are the reason your emotions are there? Or are you someone who has taken the time to take the steps to understand your thoughts and your emotions, and you just need help getting them worked through? I want to be able to know where you're at on understanding the model. I want to help you. If you don't understand it very well, I want to be able to help you understand it, because, man, this is a great tool to use in your day-to-day life. If you don't care you want to have the help of a group, you're looking at building up your community pillar, then also have the Brotherhood of Men. That's also a great group of guys who are dead set on making sure you succeed in what you're after. They're going to call you out on your BS, and they're going to celebrate when you win. But it's a very limited group. It's a reserved group. And so we don't have room for everybody as of yet. So if you want in, let me know. Go to relaxedmale.com/brotherhood and fill out the form. I'll get a hold of you. We'll talk it out. We'll see, are you a fit for the group right now? Because I want guys who are dedicated to growing, dedicated to becoming better, dedicated to becoming the men that society actually needs. If you're just kind of there, that sounds like something kind of interesting to do. Really, honestly, dude, I don't care to have you there. I want someone who's committed, someone who just wants to just rule their world, live life on their terms. If you don't want to do that, all right, dude, that's fine. That's cool. You don't have to, you can be comfortable on there, listen to the podcast and get a little better from there. Somewhere along the way, though, you're going to start realizing just sitting on the couch ain't going to serve you. And so you're going to want to start becoming a better man. And to be able to do that, well, you'll have to find a group of men who are going to lift you up. So guys, thank you so much for taking the time to listen. Wow, we went really long on emotions, a lot longer than I thought I was going to. I wrote everything out and I was like, oh, this might be about barely a 30-minute talk. Nope. But guys, if you enjoyed the show, you found something that was interesting, powerful, something that made you think, share this out. It caused you to think of a particular man who needs to hear this. Share it with them. You can share it on your Facebook page, to your Facebook contacts. I'll get the right Facebooker out there eventually. Share it out with your Facebook contacts. Share it out with Twitter followers. Share it out take a screenshot. Share it on Instagram. Get the word that Relaxed Male is out there. Get people talking about it. Let's get guys out off the couch, out of the front of the television, get them out to start living life and start living life to the most complete possible way. The only way you're going to be able to do that, though, is to actually start working through that model and start sharing sharing this particular episode or sharing these episodes like this out with the world. Start share it with everybody you can think of, because we are found everywhere. We're on Instagram. When it comes to the podcast itself, we're over on Spotify, we're on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. We're on GeoSavan, any podcast platform you can possibly think of. We're there. We're even over on the new Samsung podcast app. So guys, share this out. Share it with those who need to hear it. And let them know there is a place that will help men become the greatest men possible. And that is here at the Relaxed Male. So guys, thank you all again for listening. I will see you next week when we're going to actually be talking about actions and how they influence how your life becomes. So guys, with that, y'all take care. See you next week. Bye.